my whole thing right now is about being unstoppable, about really reaching inside and grabbing something that's in there that you might not know is there.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Unleashed and Unstoppable Show. This is episode number 15. My name is Todd Pierce.
And my name's Dean Martin.
And
welcome.
we've got a special guest. We've got
Alyse Grace.
Hey.
Cool. And look, today's going to be a really, really cool podcast. Alyse is doing some fantastic things out there today. She interviews really, really successful people. She's got an awesome project, which we'll talk about as well, called Fearless. And really, today's episode, the crux of what we're going to be talking about today is what it really takes to succeed in business today. I'm talking 2020 and beyond. And as you're going to hear from Alyse, she's had a number of things that have kind of tested her over the years, and she's got a great story which she's going to share right now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So I guess the best set of me introducing you and all that kind of thing, the best thing I think is just to tell us your story. So how are you here today? What's the journey been like, and what's brought you to this exact spot right now?
Well, over the years, I'll start from when I was a kid, right?
Cool.
So I loved music growing up. So I would listen to the radio, and the radio would have these competitions that you could win if you could guess like the top hit and things like that. So I worked out strategies for how the radio was working and how to get through on those phone calls when I knew the answers. Yep. And I'd win prizes. And sometimes I didn't like the prizes, so I heard of this thing called eBay, and I would sell them on prizes on eBay. So sometimes it'd be CD stacks or a pair of Skechers shoes. Once I sold a Marc Echo watch on eBay, and then it progressed from that through to me learning LimeWire and downloading music. And then I'd take requests for my friends at school, and I'd sell CDs and things like that at school. And then out of school, I knew I had that entrepreneurial mind, but I had to pay the bills. So I started working jobs, and I've tried a whole different industry, many different industries, I should say, and had jobs that I didn't like. So, or even tried network marketing, and
that's good stuff.
Yeah, it taught me lots. Like, I'm really grateful for all the experiences I've got, but yeah, from all of these years of trial and error, trying different businesses and different jobs and industries, I finally found what I love, which is building businesses. Yes. Obviously. So I'm helping build my partner in my business called Fearless, where we help empower people around the world with health through being vegan and improving a mindset. And then what my baby right now is my podcast, Trillions, where I interview high-level people and learn from them. And then obviously the podcast allows people to listen and learn from these wonderful entrepreneurs and business people around the world. Yeah,
awesome. So I guess while we're there, let's talk about Trillions to start with. So you've had the opportunity to chat with some really cool people so far. What would be the kind of the biggest lessons that you've taken, if you were to reflect? I don't put you on the spot, but spot's the best place to be, right? Yeah. If you reflect on the people that you've chatted to, what would you say are the biggest takeaways you've got in respect to what it takes to succeed in business today?
They really stick in their lane. Hey, like I was chatting with Don O'Rourke recently, and I've interviewed a few property people, Scott Hutchinson, and also Brian White. So these guys they stay in their lane. Right now there's great opportunities with coronavirus to be, importing masks from China or creating a hand sanitizer company. But these guys aren't worried about that. They're sticking in their lane, focused on what they do and what they do best. And they're not worried about other opportunities. So I think it's really important in business to know when to say no.
So avoiding the shiny object syndrome. It's like, something new, might try that.
Exactly.
Is that a fluffy dog? It's amazing.
Focus.
Yeah, focus for sure.
Yeah,
and staying in their lane. Focused on what they are good at.
Yep. But what's it mean by staying in the lane exactly? Like, for someone that's never actually heard that term before and hasn't really thought about it, so what's that specifically mean if they're to stay in their lane?
Yeah, well, Don O'Rourke, for example, is all about construction, like development, project development. Property development is the words I'm looking for. Yeah. So he isn't worried about like buying and selling cranes. Which is still construction. He's focused on property development, and that's it. There's many different things he could be doing in the realm of construction, but he's not worried about trying to do everything. He's just focused on what he does best, which is the property development side of things, the investment side of things, bringing in capital from investors, and that's what he's focused on. So I think that's maybe the best way to explain it. Somebody else.
No, it's really good, and like couple of years ago, I did a couple of videos called Too Many Options, Not Enough Focus. And it kind of really does highlight what we have today. We have got such a vast array of options available to us every second of every minute of every hour, every single day, that it is easy to get distracted by things. And, you know, I think it was Warren Buffett. He said, I'm pretty sure it was him. He said, like, if you had a punch card, the old punch card metaphor, if you had a punch card that had, like, I think it was 12 punch cards that you can punch on it, and they were the only choices, the only things that you could do in life, you'd be a lot more selective with what you chose to invest your time and energy into. He goes, but people don't. They think they've got like this infinite amount of punch cards, and that's a mistake. Yeah. So like for people watching, like whenever you do endeavor in business, you have to be focused. You have to stay in your lane, as you said. And like when I talk about prioritization, I talk about high impact, high income activities. How can I hone that focus so that I'm not distracted by the bullshit? No, that's really cool. What's in respect to Trillions, what's the end outcome with that podcast for you as you kind of interview people and do that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, my first focus is to interview $1 trillion net worth of people.
That's so cool.
So my focus at the moment is decamillionaires and up.
Yep.
Not necessarily for the money side of things. What I think when I think of a decamillionaire or centimillionaire is someone who has really refined their business to a point with great systems, because to be making that much money and to manage that, you need to have great systems, great people, a great vision.
You have to do stuff in order, yeah.
Exactly. So I really want to talk to these caliber of people because they've got that experience, and especially those entrepreneurs that have built from the ground up to that point have really interesting stories. So that's my focus with the podcast. Also, so with that $1 trillion worth of net worth people, it's around 100 people I've worked out to get to that.
Yeah, nice. So 100 people have earned 10 mil or more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. They've obviously got a lot of lessons that they could share, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. So I really want to get those 100 interviews done, so that the next generation of entrepreneurs and business people like ourselves can learn from them before they pass, and enjoy the podcast and interviews. After that, we'll see where it goes or what opportunities come. It's probably one of the few projects that I've done where I haven't had a really clear monetization model around it. I'm really enjoying the process. Nice. I'm just focused on enjoying the process. My thing is index funds that safe, long term, generational. Like I'm talking Scott Hutchinson is 4th generation with his 5th generation in training to become a C-suite executive. So they've got a really good generational wealth structure where they only bring in one person from each generation to work in the company, and also obviously how they're managing their business and the rules around what they can and can't do with that.
Yeah, so that means obviously, like, if you're the parent, you're creating wealth not only yourself but for your kids, for their kids, so setting something up. So
thinking beyond yourself, like not just I'm going to live to 100, so I need to be set up till then, or I hope I can live well when I'm retired. Why not think beyond that to your kids, grandkids, and their kids, great grandkids, and how can I set up my trust fund and my investment strategy to live beyond me and my business.
Based on a couple of the habits lately, a lot of people, thinking they're only going to live to the end of this crisis, right?
The thing is, and you've just sparked something in my mind in respect to how people think, and like I've run sales and marketing companies, and I've literally hired, at one point we were interviewing like 30 odd people a day, and like I saw firsthand the kind of mindsets people have. And when you get into sales, obviously you got a money mindset, right? You want to make money. And we did door-to-door sales, so it's like the most direct kind of sales you can do, and it's hard. And it's interesting, right? Seeing, I would always say this, like the initial part of the training that we'd do with people was all about mindset, because if you can't get their mind right, they're going to go out there, get told to fuck off by someone at the door. How many times can you handle that? Well, most people, not a lot, right? So you have to get their mind right. And what you'd see so often, whenever I did the interview, I'd always start by saying something along the lines of, okay, so who here, what's your earning expectations? And people go around the room, and normally we do group interviews because, all of them in the room at once, tell them the opportunity, who's it for, great, who's it not for, bye. And, when people go around the room, it's always so interesting to hear their earning expectations, and it's scary because my belief is that you often will get what you aim for. What you don't aim for, you'll always miss. And what you do aim for, at least if you've got something there you're moving towards. And so many people would be like, I want to earn $600 a week. How much do you want? $800 a week. How much do you want? $1,000 a week. And then you get that little ball of a little cocky, arrogant person that would be like, I want $10,000 a week. You're like, yeah, my man. And then like if the next person heard that person say $10,000, and that would instantly go up from 600 to something like 1,200, right? But like that's the expectation. $1,200 a week. What's that? 1,200 times 52. Like, what's that? That's like freaking 60 grand a year.
Love your maths.
Like nothing. Come on, mate. You're the math person. I'm the talker. You're the mathematician, mate. Like 60k a year. Like that's not enough to live.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and it spins me out. Anyway, I digress. So
Little Todd tangent.
I know. Sorry, I can't help it.
TT for life.
So that's really cool. Obviously, building that generational wealth. Now, obviously, you're here right now. You're super focused. You're laser focused on what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and what it all means to you. Hasn't always been that way. So, like, what kind of things what have been like the building blocks, the challenges, the things that have kind of put you in this position where this is now your passion?
Well, I was in a position at one point. I just had a flashback then when you were saying that, where I was living in the city in one of the Meriton buildings, right?
Yeah.
On the 58th floor, I had this magnificent view, but I couldn't pay my rent. And I remember sitting on the floor in my bedroom crying, just being like, life's hard, man. Like, and then I was questioning myself, like, who am I to complain? Look where I live in Australia, I'm in this great apartment. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but I'm having a tough time right now.
Yeah.
And I think that many people can relate, and that people in my position back then and possibly even now, just looking for somebody, or that light, somebody who can guide them, somebody who has perhaps been in their position and then they've come out of it. So just for me with my podcast is sharing the stories of people who've been in here where a lot of people are right now, and then they've done X, Y, Z, and then they've gotten to a point where they're living a better than average lifestyle. So I remember sitting there feeling this way, and I remember thinking, well, going through the options, and one of them was, well, you could kill yourself. And I was like, well, I've got so much to give the world. I don't think that now's the time to leave. That would be a bit of a cop out.
I'm glad that you didn't.
So yeah, it wasn't that bad. I wasn't thinking about it seriously, but I still thought, well, that's an option. And I thought, nah, fuck that. Like, I've got so much to give the world. All I have to do is just put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. So what can I do? Do some more work, or I can't remember at the time if I was working or not, but when I was living there, I was selling roses on the street to pay my rent at one point.
Wow.
So just really hustling and doing as much as I could to get that money in to just do the basics. Yep. And my vision was like this at that point, just pay my rent and eat. And then obviously as things got better, my view expanded, and now my view is a lot broader, and I'm able to provide a lot more value in the world. So
what led to that point there? Like what were the series of events that led to that, if you don't mind me asking? Yeah,
I'd say I was living outside my means.
Yep.
So I was trying to increase my lifestyle faster than my...
This is a great lesson, by the way, guys. Yeah. You should pay attention. This is always a good lesson.
So I was earning... Again, it was a long time ago. I was earning a certain amount, and I split with my boyfriend, and he lived in an apartment building in the city, and I love that view. And man, it must have been my RAS system in my brain being like, I'm used to this, so I want this back, but I want it just for me. So I went in search of somewhere for myself, which was this apartment. And I was initially meant to rent with somebody else, and then they bailed, so then I was left with the rent by myself. So it was technically a good move, but I think the universe had a very strong, important message for me at that point, which was to live within my means. So I couldn't cover the rent on my own, let alone my portion on my own. I was living week to week. So it's really important, audience, to live within your means and increase your earnings a lot, and make sure you've got that cash buffer. I didn't even know about cash buffers back then. Make sure you have 3-month expenses saved before you go and increase your lifestyle, and then gradually increase the lifestyle.
What was the journey getting out of that part of your life, and I guess what were the learnings that you got along the way?
Yeah, I had a mentor at the time, and he just said, work hard. So he just said, life's not easy, work hard, get over it, focus on what you can control. So I just focused on working, man. Like I remember it's interesting. Once my perception in my mind changed, I got a message from someone who, a recruiter who said, I've got a job you might be interested in, and I entertained it and I ended up getting the position.
Nice.
It was a really cool gig. I really loved it, business development.
Nice.
And then at the same time, I got involved in network marketing, and and then I just really poured my energy into those two things. So keeping fit, my day job, and then the network marketing on the side. And I think the network marketing, I didn't have a huge amount of success in that company, but it really gave me a sense of community, and
you learn things.
The personal development really was incredible, and so that really helped me pull through. And then also the job paid quite well. And then when I was tempted to, I set up like an automated savings plan. So just automatically every week the money would go into my savings account. And then every time I felt tempted to buy something, I would ask myself, is this within my means? And usually it wasn't. So I just started questioning myself, and it was hard. I think your brain sets up habits and patterns, and it's really important to understand that the words that your brain is telling you is often trying to trick you and pull you back into your comfort zone. But I just pushed through the discomfort to become a new person.
Yeah, there ain't no growth in comfort.
Exactly.
No. Is it a need or is it a want?
So, because I'm assuming you probably didn't just stop working to start a business. Talk to me, what was that transitional period where you kind of started formulating the ideas for a business, and like what was that kind of journey there?
Well, the first business I set up, the real serious one, I was working, again, I've had so many different jobs, I can't remember which one, but I'm not a good employee. I'm a good owner and leader, I got a tax return, and my accountant it was the first time I had an accountant do my tax return, or a good accountant, and I got a return of around $5,000. So I thought, what can I do with this money? And I thought, why don't I start a business? So I advertised for some people that I thought would be needed on my team for a media company. I was really heavily into Gary Vee back in 2016.
Yeah, nice.
And he was, doing VaynerMedia and stuff like that. So I thought it would be really good we're talking about foundations before the podcast, to set up my foundations as a media company, because I can see that the world is headed towards a social media online world. So I thought a media company is a great place to start. Anyway, so I got these people together and started building this business, and I went out business development, that kind of person, getting the jobs in, and then having my team do the work, and then I'd pay them for their time. And then I had a particular client who you could say screwed me over, but it was obviously a lesson, and miscommunication between the two of us. I didn't provide a contract, and then he wasn't happy with some things.
Great lesson, right?
Yeah, so many lessons in life. So and then Christmas happened, and then I kind of just let it fall by the wayside, and didn't go back to it. So then probably a bit of fear from what happened. So then I was working in a bar, and I was kind of like, man, I was loving the business thing. What happened there? And back into the old habits of just working, feeling unhappy with my life. So I thought about Tony Robbins talks about the triad of how to change your state. And I was thinking long term how to change my state, not just a day-to-day thing. So I decided, one of my goals in life is to live overseas before I was 30. I'm 30 now, but I was like, I think 27 back then. And I decided to move to China, because China's becoming China's becoming like, it's going to be one of the world's number one economy, and India. So I thought, well, it'd be really cool to learn Mandarin. What's a great way I could do that? So when I put that out to the universe, I bumped into an old school friend who did exactly what I wanted to do, and then he gave me the lowdown, how I could get a good job, what to look for, what I should be kind of looking at earning, where I should live. Anyway, so I moved to Shanghai and lived there for 6 months teaching English. Nice. And I just made it happen.
That's cool.
It was really cool.
So talk to us about that cultural shift. What was that experience like? Big shift.
They gave me this piece of paper when I was working at a great school, like one of the top 5 kindergartens in Shanghai. And they gave me this, welcome to China. Like, this is what to expect. You need to find. They put me up for 2 weeks in a hotel, and it was up to me to find an apartment and rent that out for myself. So it said in there, you may experience culture shock. And I was like. I'm good. Like, I'm tough. I'm fine. Like, this is cool. This is a journey, and I'm all good. But like each day I'd go to work, I'd have this slight paranoia that my co-workers were talking about me. I was like, because they spoke in Chinese, right?
Did you learn the language or anything? Because I know the only Mandarin I've ever picked up was the fruit. So
no,
yeah,
very funny.
So
Are you a dad? Dad jokes.
I'm allowed to be. I'm a dad, so
yeah. No, I didn't know the language before I went. I just went. I was a school that was owned by Canadians and
so everything was English.
Not everything. All the Chinese staff spoke Mandarin.
Yeah, right.
And they spoke a little English as well. I would say I was going through culture shock, and I found myself getting irritated by little things. Like if I was trying to communicate with somebody through hand gestures, or I learnt the basics pretty quickly, but I was getting really irritated with little things, and taxis can be racist over there. If it's raining, they won't pick Westerners up. They'll, like white people, they'll pick up Chinese before they'll pick up foreigner, because they want to look after their own people. I experienced a little racism like that, which was fascinating. I've never so it gave me a good experience of that. But yeah, I experienced culture shock for sure. But then what was interesting, after about 3 months, I just like fell in love with it. I remember being out walking one night. It's very safe. You feel very safe in China. And I was out walking around the streets of Shanghai, and everything's open quite late there. So 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. is kind of their day. And I remember just loving it. Like the vibe there, the food. I made some Chinese friends.
Love food.
Like but actually real Chinese. Like, you know how they say, oh, Aussie Chinese is different. It's totally different once you're there. So yeah, I fell in love with China, and I was really sad when I came home, but happy at the same time. Like the pollution there's was challenging. I wore a mask every day, but the job was great. Like it's truly an experience that changed my life. I still love to be fluent in Mandarin. I'm not fluent, but yeah, it changed me, because one thing that I learned in China, which was probably the biggest lesson I had to learn in life, was to have a strict budget. Because when you live in a foreign country, man, you can't just, whoops, I can't pay my rent. Like, hey, mum, just wire me some cash.
Yeah.
Like, my parents don't work like that for a start. And also, I was being paid quite well, so I really learnt to manage my money. Things are a bit cheaper there, which made it good for me to save. And I felt great when I came back to Australia with
How long did you stay there for?
Savings. 6 months.
6 months, cool.
Yeah, it was meant to be a year, but I came back a little early due to some stuff. And I saved $6,000 in 6 months.
Yeah, nice.
Probably a bit more than that, actually. I came back for Christmas and spent there. But yeah, so it really taught me responsibility. And the interesting thing was, after the first few weeks of being there, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I was on Webjet looking at flights to come home. I was hating it so much. It was just my brain losing its mind. It was just my brain saying, this is so different. You need to get out. But over time, and each day I pushed through because I had to. I adapted, and I was like, oh, it's not so bad. What I thought was horrible yesterday is really nothing.
It's only natural. We've got those challenges all the time. We'll look at now with this whole crisis going on, it's just something that's been thrown in our face, and we've had to adapt really quickly, or we sit there and cry in our room.
Let's take that package information you just gave and contextualize this into business, because there's a great lesson there in case y'all missed it, right? So like the similarities between what you just described and what it's like to start a new business are like quite remarkable, especially if you've never done business. Like, the biggest shift they say psychologically someone could make is going from a 9-to-5 job to starting their own business, because you go from structure, certainty, you know what you do, you get told what you do, you got an income coming in when income's coming, it's coming in, for example, on a Friday, and then boom, it's like there's no rules. And it's chaos, it's uncertainty, it's unstructured.
Whole new world.
You also have to, you're driven by self-motivation rather than the stick, which is do your work and you'll get paid.
Correct.
So it's a different feeling.
You know, I think a big part of why people throw in the towel within 12 months is because they can't handle that uncertainty. And what I want to say is, if you're in business and you just started a business, take a lesson from Alyse's book, which is that, you know, she was over there and she had all your senses saying, I want to go home, go home, which is the same as, I should go back to my old job, But
or
you
go back to bed, or
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But you push through, and boom, you loved it.
Yeah, it was cool.
So you've got a 2.5 year interim between, obviously, when you came back to now. So what's kind of happened in that kind of period of time?
Well, when I came back, I was, again, like, the universe, I met up with a friend, and then she was starting a business, so I was doing all her sales calls and and bringing in like closing deals for her startup. So that was really cool. I worked on a commission structure alone, so I don't think there was a base salary to start with, so that was really awesome. I did that, and then I also was babysitting, because that's kind of my fallback, is babysitting. And
comfort zone.
Yeah.
Plan B.
Oh, it's just like some people have a trade or you know, chippy or whatever, but mine is babysitting. So I was babysitting, I was doing sales, and I was also for a mentor of mine, I was doing LinkedIn inboxing for 2 hours every night. So I was like 12 hours a day I was working, and I just submersed myself into work, and I really loved that. And in addition to that, I was going to the gym. Just a gym and work, just laser focused, and that established me, got me back on my feet. And then some of the work fell off, like the babysitting and the LinkedIn stuff. I kept working for my friend, and then I met my now partner 2 years ago, and we started a business together, personal training. So we've got a couple of clients that we train in person, and then we've got the online school as well. And and then we lived off a bit of my savings while we got that started. So I pretty much, now I work full time in the business or on the business, and she works full time as a personal trainer for F45. And and that's what we do at the moment.
Sounds like you've done a lot.
Talk. So here we are now. Welcome everybody. We're here in the present. So talk to us about what you're doing right now with Fearless, with the business that you're now working on. What made you start that? Why are you passionate about it? Like, talk to us about that. Yeah,
so Fearless was started, my partner was telling me about what she wanted to do and all these different ideas she had, and I just I found myself mentoring her a little bit, like helping her figure out what direction she actually wanted to go in, who she wanted to serve specifically. Would it be a focus on vegan, whatever. And I was studying under a mentor, I still am, who teaches business structure and how to build a business online. So then I thought, well, instead of me trying to build my business while my partner tries to build hers, and I'm kind of mentoring her at the same time anyway, why don't, because I love building businesses, I don't necessarily want to be in one niche. I think I'm more of a business coach, or I'm not sure yet. So I'm helping her in terms, like, from a business coach perspective, where I'm saying, okay, I'm setting up the domains for her, and the marketing, and the Facebook ads, and the ClickFunnels page, and the copywriting. So I'm doing that all for her, and because she works full time. So it's a really cool dynamic where I'm the technical side of things and the marketing, and she just produces the content. She's like the face of Fearless. So I love health. Like, I think health is really important as a foundation for anybody to have a great level of health, but it's probably not my top value. My top value is business. So I love helping her be the face of our business, and then from that, from that, we've actually been in talks about me writing about my life, because people tell me it's interesting, but I don't think it's that great. But and when other people hear about some of the things, they're like, you should write a book. So I'm just slowly chipping away at that whilst helping her build her business. And then once I've got her really thriving as a proven concept, then we'll see if people start asking me, hey, can you help me with my business as well? And then perhaps that will become, my coaching side of things.
So what are the main focuses with Fearless? Like, what's the main focus? Well, who's it aimed towards? Like, what's the problem that you're solving? Like, what's it all about?
So a lot of PTs and online courses at the moment, they give somebody a program with, like, do this exercise, eat this food, and you'll get X result, which is great from a marketing point of view. People know exactly what they're getting, but where we see the problem with that is people are buying these programs for fat loss, or I want a bigger booty, or they'd really focus on the physical manipulations of their body, which is, it's not bad, but it's not great. So we're teaching how to empower all areas of your health. So it's an online school which people access through Teachable.
Oh, nice.
And it's a monthly subscription. It's only $60, so it's cheaper than a personal trainer, way cheaper than a personal trainer. And Jacinta is available on Facebook in the private group, where they all can post their wins, their challenges, their questions at any time, and she'll answer them. And then also she's educating them every month about a new topic. So with all the coronavirus stuff, the first month was about building your immune system, like boosting your immune system.
Yep.
And then month 2, which is about working on now, is all about how to go vegan, which is something we believe in. Like if you're not vegan, you can still join, but we'd like you to, try your best to reduce your meat intake. And then each month we have a new topic. So it's more about helping people, and we give recipes every month and workout programs every month that you can follow, but it's about educating people that your health is a lifelong thing. It's not a quick fix, 8 weeks and you're healthy and then you're off, you're all good. It's something you have to work on continuously, and then if something's out with your sleep or with your nutrition, then we give you the tools to diagnose that and how to fix it.
It sounds like right now, obviously, you're doing something with your partner that you are passionate about, you do love, which is obviously an important thing in business. And I kind of wasn't going to go there, but now we're here anyway. So why don't we talk about something which is like, you'd be ignorant to think this is not accurate, right? But being a woman in business has its own unique set of challenges that, being a man in business doesn't have. So can you talk to us about like what you've experienced in that domain, and for anyone who's a woman, what kind of advice you can give them to make sure that they...
What do you think the challenges are?
Let's put it this way. An article written by a woman who did one thing different, right? So she was, I can't remember what her industry was, but she and another guy had like these contests so you could do the most sales and close the most deals.
Right.
The one shift she made that dramatically increased her sales was that instead of having her name at the bottom of an email, she put his name at the bottom and her sales went up.
Really?
He doing it because they were saying who's got the better sales style, right? The only shift, his sales went down when he used her name at the footer. Her sales went up when she put his name at the footer. So it's ignorance to think that there's not challenges. It's ignorance not to think that there's biases, right? I'm not going to get into personality traits like assertiveness and stuff like that, because they do play a major role. Women are naturally more agreeable than assertive. And that is a big factor in many things. But like what would you say are the main kind of challenges that you've experienced personally, and how can people kind of navigate those?
I would say that perhaps women aren't as confident, perhaps because there is a narrative that women can't do as well in business, or I believe it's probably rarer to see women at the top because they they're the ones who rear children and often play the supporting role for a man who is in business. With me, obviously, I don't have that issue as I'm in a relationship with a woman, and I'm probably like the more dominant one in the relationship. So, I believe that if you're a woman in business, the key is to not worry about the biological clock ticking. I'm 30 and we're not interested in having kids for 5, 6, maybe 8 years because we're super healthy. We may freeze eggs, but technology is incredible these days. So we're not worried about the biological side of things. A lot of women worry about that when we've spoken to them. Another thing is to back yourself. Like, understand that you don't need a man to build a successful business, that you can do it alone as a woman. That's interesting, the study. I'd love to see that actually and read about it. It was just an article written by a woman about her experience using emails. But I think one thing I do see is that business is a bit of a boys' club. So I was, some of these men I speak to who are in business, especially the younger ones in their 30s, have group chats with their friends, whether that be a business group chat or a supercar group chat.
I guess it's a perception, like the mindset that you take going in there as being a woman or a man. It's like, I am a woman, so I'm going to choose to be different, I guess, to, hey, I'm a man, I own this shit, I'm the alpha dog.
I think that's really good advice. You do have to back yourself.
Yeah, I think women probably doubt themselves a bit more, or maybe even not even just more. I think that everything's in balance, right? I think there's women out there who can thrive and do really well in business, but perhaps they're worried about their biological clock, or someone who doesn't care about their biological clock isn't as confident. It's really personality based, and I genuinely feel that there's a shift. More women are becoming empowered now. We've got the internet, and I think that for me, which will shift into your next question about networking, being a part of the boys' club and being accepted, because a lot of business, from what I'm learning with these interviews, is that it's relationships.
Yes.
So if there's two products that are the same quality, but this person knows, perhaps people in Parliament, or both people want to get a a building over the line or a DA, approval, whatever, a build or whatever, then the person with the more networks will probably win a job.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't appear like that in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really learning the importance of networking, and my podcast is a little bit of a way of meeting these people who otherwise I wouldn't get in the door with, by giving them some publicity, some free publicity, and allowing them to share their journey and their experiences on my platform, but also then me having the ability to connect with them and get into that boys club and show that I'm a capable woman, because they probably see a blonde, petite 30-year-old chick, like she doesn't seem that dominant when I look at her, but when they meet me, they probably have a different perception.
I think it's good, and I'm opinionated about many, many things. Dean just shakes his head. He goes, "Oh fuck, where's Toddy about to go right now?" But what I feel right is that the men, and look, I call out my own fucking kind. I don't give a shit. But the men that have the most, negative emotion or negativity towards women in business, the ones that are most insecure, that feel threatened for whatever reason, which is stupid, right? It's the most stupid thing, and I feel like the synergy between men and women in business is fabulous. Men have ideas that women won't have, and women have ideas that men don't have. There's this dynamic of brain interplay that is so fantastic if people work together. But yeah, I really do feel like it is highly based in insecurities. I'm thinking about 4 people right now in my head. It's just, anyway.
I
digress.
I had a guest that I spoke to who I asked him, actually, I said, somewhere I read online when I was researching him that he is an advocate for women in construction, women in the industry. And I said, I know you're an advocate for this. What's your perception of women in business? And he said, it's not about the sex of a person. He said, when we interview people, we interview women and men, and it's about their competence and whether or not they're suitable for that role. Oh my God, we're going down a political rabbit hole. Here we go. It's going to be fun. It's all about if they're suitable for the role. But
yes.
Yeah, and then you can talk about pay structures and inequality in pay. But if you're a woman and that you're getting paid less than somebody in the same position as you, stand up for yourself.
Stand up. You say something, and this is how these kind of things happen. You be assertive. You put your foot down. If someone tries, Dean knows, I pull people up, right? I'm just hey, this is not right. Fix it. And that's something, as a woman, you need to adopt. When I've done coaching in the past with women, because I've done coaching now for 10 years, there's been a solid percentage of women who I've coached with. Obviously, there's emotional things that we go through, but in respect to career, there's a high element there of teaching them how to be assertive. It's a learned trait, right? If your mum and dad weren't assertive and that interplay wasn't happening at home, then chances are you didn't model it. But it's not too late to learn it. You can learn it. And I love what you just said right there about we're looking at competencies. So there's something I'm exceptionally opposed to in the world right now. And that is, and we'll either agree on this or we'll disagree, and that's okay because reasonable minds can have differing opinions and respect each other. I believe the biggest injustice in the world is the enforcement of equality of outcome.
Okay.
What
do you mean by that?
I tell you right now, I'm probably going to become a politician in the next couple of years because it's becoming very important to me. Very many political things are becoming important to me, and I don't like necessarily what I see in the world. And I feel like there is, anyway, it's choose your best poison at the moment.
So anyways, 2030, vote Todd number 1.
Yeah, the first tattooed guy. But okay, equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome, right? So what that means is that equality of outcome, there are people out there that are saying everything needs to be equal without taking into consideration competence, right? It has to be equal because equal is fair, equal is right.
Equal in what though? In pay or
everything. Equality of outcome means that we start the race at the same time, but we have to finish the race at the same time, no matter how hard we all work. Yeah, that's equality of outcome.
I disagree.
100%. I knew you would already.
Stupid.
Equality, but there are
survival of the fittest, man. That's what I believe.
There are people that believe this, and there are people that push this, and they try to push it through as legislation. It's injustice. It's the idea: take from the rich, give to the poor. That idea is equality of outcome. Where for me, what I'm an advocate of is equality of opportunity. That means we all start the race at the same time, and based on how well you perform, how well you do, that's where you finish. And I love that. Just what you said with that guy right there. He goes I'm not looking at male or female. I'm looking at competency, right? Who's the best fit for the role? I think that's so important. And I feel yes, you go the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s as well, there's been a somewhat of an imbalance out there in respect to, men being favoured over women. But I feel like we're starting to become more aware these days. We're starting to realise as employers, and like I said, I've employed a shit ton of people in my life so far, it's not whether you're a male or a female. It's like, what the fuck do you bring to the table?
I also think it's a cultural shift, man. Like,
yes.
we grew up where women literally had a role in society and they didn't have a voice to vote, and that's just the way it was. It's not good or bad. It's just what happened. We used to wear puffy shoulder clothing. Like, it's just the way it was. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's how it was, and it's transitioning, it's changing now. So, and that's okay. So if you're a woman and you want a position of power, then go get it. Like, don't sit around and sit here and bitch and complain because that person's over there. Like, do your best. Like, learn the networks, get in with the boys club, do what you need to do to get that position. Yep.
And the flip side of the coin of that too, because there's obviously two sides to each coin every time, is if you are a woman as well, like, and you don't want that, then that's okay as well. I think that's an important message to communicate, because I was talking to my wife about this, right? And, she's like, we're about to have our second baby, and she's very happy, like, looking after, like, the kids, right? She's happy doing that.
Yeah.
However, and this is so interesting, I find this I love social dynamics, right? I love it. The interesting thing was, right, when we had our son Isaiah, within the first, 12 weeks, right, the questions that she started to get pressed upon her by, other women sometimes was, oh, when are you going back to work? Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, I don't fucking want to go back to work. I want to look after my son, because I think raising him to be a good, man is more important than me going back to work. And we obviously, our mindset as well in regards to daycare and stuff like that is, we'd rather keep him at home so they can get all the right values from us in the early stage, but that's a different discussion. But, saying that, she's also got an entrepreneurial side as well. Yeah. So she wants to start her business, and she's going to do that as well. But she goes, like, it's annoying. This is what she said to me. She goes, it's annoying sometimes that, like, sometimes other women cast onto other women this idea that if you're not out there, pursuing a career, being hungry, driven, motivated, taking on, like, those kind of roles, then you're not doing women justice. So
I think that everybody has different values, right?
Yes.
So John DeMartini is one of my mentors. He talks about 7 areas of life and different values. And so obviously your wife has a high value in family, and I'm not sure what else, but obviously family is high on her values, and business is not. And these women who are coming into her life, asking when she's coming back to work or pursuing her entrepreneurial thing, have a higher value on business than they do on family. So, and
also conditioning as well from what they witnessed growing up as well, because did mum and dad stay home? What was the dynamic there? So
that's good for your wife to hear that, because it's challenging her. How bad do you want to stay at home and look after your son? So, and then that's challenging your wife to be assertive in what she wants, which is family, and
100%.
say I'm really happy being a stay-at-home mum. And if they challenge her, that's good. That's making your wife more certain of what she's doing is right for her.
And which then, for those who didn't pick it up, highlight a very important thing, which is knowing your values, right? Yeah. Knowing what's important to you. Yeah. So have you what was it that made, so you're very clear on what's important to you.
Yeah.
What was it that gave you that clarity, do you think?
I think that trialing and erroring a fuckload through my life has helped me gain that clarity. So I recently wrote down a list of some of the jobs that I've had, and I stopped at 30. There's more.
Wow.
And I'm talking different jobs, like, babysitting is one, even though I've done it for different families.
Yep.
So I've really tried a lot of different things, and I'm okay trying a job, and if I don't like it, saying to them, hey, look, I'm really unhappy in this position, I quit. Nice. And then I go to the next thing, and then the next thing. Sometimes I take jobs that I knew that I didn't really like just to pay the bills.
Yep.
So I think there's that, and also, investing money in personal development to go and learn from people like John DeMartini and having a network of other entrepreneurs around me.
Yes.
And also not being afraid to say to my family who don't have a high value in what I do, a lot of them, and being okay that they don't agree with what I do.
I'm glad you said that.
Because a lot of people really value their parents' approval, and I've cut the umbilical cord. I'm not attached in that way.
Yep.
With some of my family, we don't talk, and I'm fine with that. And then other family, like my mum, we have a difference of opinion on a few things. But if I touch on this and she doesn't agree, then we kind of just say, oh, let's talk about something else. And there's no heat there.
Yeah.
We respect each other.
Yep.
But when you try to push your values onto someone else and you constantly want them to live to your values, it's like futile. It's never going to work. So I look at people's values and I try to communicate with them in their values and also I try not to project mine onto other people as well. So when I'm having a conversation with people, I love to have it flow and I really think that being okay with family and friends not talking to you or exiting your life is essential.
Yes.
Not important, it's fucking essential for you to get to where you need to go. Because when you close those doors with people that aren't serving you and you're not really serving them, then you allow yourself to build new relationships with people who are more going to help you on your journey.
100%. Whenever I do live events, I always, often if I remember to do it, I kind of take things as they kind of go with the crowd, give me what they give me. But like I often will talk about, what it takes to be happy. And there being, two things at play. Number one being, what do you expect to be happening in your life right now? And then number two, what is actually happening right now? So when those two things line up, you've got happiness, you feel good. When they don't align, you get upset, you feel hurt, you feel let down, right? Yeah. And there being, a couple of things that you can do. Number one, you can change your external circumstances so that you start to feel happy. It's the whole idea, right? Are you going to move or are you going to renovate? It's like you can either move and change your external circumstances, or two, you can renovate what's going on, which just means you change your internal expectations. And like, I'm so happy that you said that about family too, because like, I just like you, there's people in my life that don't necessarily align with my values and stuff either. I love them. Like actually, I love my family, but I don't always have to see them, right? It's like you can love them and not see them all the time. And that's such an important thing because a lot of people do have that family chain and anchor, which is where I was going with that story. Yeah. So I do the whole chain and anchor metaphor on stage. I'm like, a lot of people are trying to move forward into the life that they want, but they've got these chains and anchors holding them back. Chains and anchors such as past conditioning, things they've experienced growing up, negative emotions, traumas. And then the other arm getting pulled back is family, friends. There are people in your life right now that support the old you, but not the future you.
That's true.
And just like you said, right there, that's the dragon. I call it you have to slay the dragon. That's the dragon that you need to slay. Because if you always try to move forward and you've got those chains and anchors holding you back, you're never going to become what you want to be. Because they're always going to be there saying, what are you doing that for? Are you silly? Stop that. You're a woman. What are you doing that for? Or, don't be silly. That's not possible. It's like, fuck. Just stop it.
Yeah.
Want a different train.
It's actually important to distance yourself from those people, even if for a period of time and then come back to them later, because you really need to fill your mind. And this is another thing I'm learning very quickly. You really need to fill your mind with reconditioning. It's like you need to unlearn what you learnt from 0 to 7 and then recondition yourself and reprogram the brain. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the neural circuits become like little pathways through the bush into super highways with 4 lanes. And then that's a really large, convenient, neural pathway for your brain to use every day. So for you to then go and cut a new path, it's very challenging.
It's a gut track.
But it's important to go down that new path if that's the life you want. All these cute quotes that you see on Instagram about step outside your comfort zone, or to become the new you have to let go of the old you. It's cute, but it's when you actually conceptualize that and understand it fully, it's fucking challenging. 100%. But it's necessary.
There it is. There's no growth in it.
Yeah.
No growth and comfort. You got to push yourself. Let's look at the ice bath at the back there. It's not, you never ever feel good jumping in that ice bath.
No, but it's you get like that high once you jump out because you've just done something small.
You've challenged.
To challenge yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And when you master that cold, it feels good.
It's probably a great thing for your audience to just, today or tonight when you're in the shower, turn it to cold. And if you find turning your tap to cold for just 1 minute, man, you need some brain training because like even though you're anticipating the challenge, if you can't enforce change on yourself to that small degree for 1 minute,
I love it.
Then how are you going to build a multi-million-dollar company where you've got lives at stake? Imagine if you were a multi-millionaire right now, or Richard Branson having to fire people, or lay people off, or he's thinking about mortgaging his own island. that's a big amount of responsibility for someone to stomach.
Once again, he's got the neural pathways set up. He's asserted control over his own thoughts, his own emotions, his own behaviours long enough that he's got the resourcefulness there.
Yeah.
And that's what we're discussing right now, just in case you're wondering, guys.
But none of this is what has happened with you has happened overnight. It's been a continual conditioning that's happened over your 30-odd years, right?
Yeah, and it's still happening. Like, it's still challenging for me. I'm not there yet. I don't think you're ever there. I don't think you ever get to a point and you go, there you go.
No.
That's what I was aiming for in my life. I'm good now. I think you're constantly changing, evolving, learning, screwing up, and getting back up again. Like, I think for me, it's been, I thought I'd be a multi-millionaire before 30, but I'm not quite there. But I'm still pushing.
Yes.
Rather than just throwing in the towel, I failed in life and what was me. I'm like, no, I've got a lot to bring the world, and it doesn't matter if it takes me another 30 or 40 or 50 years. I'm living to 111, so...
It's like they say, losers always find a way to lose and winners always find a way to win.
Yeah.
And the difference between a winner and a loser is that the loser gave up.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'll die trying rather than give up before I'm on my deathbed.
I don't think the point is ever to reach your goal, though. Like, I feel that when you start to get closer to your goal, it's a matter of being aware of that goal's coming closer and shifting it out further. Because if you ever do get your goal, then what? It's your end game.
Yeah.
So if you're always expanding it, then you're always moving forward and having that journey always increase, which becomes the new challenges, the new experiences, the new excitements, everything that comes with it. So, yeah.
I think Grant Cardone actually said that when he achieved a few things in life, he realized that he'd been thinking small.
Yep.
So he's in his 60s now, and he told me, he's like, I've been thinking too small all my life. So that's incredible coming from a man like Grant Cardone. He still thinks he's a peasant. So think bigger. Like when he says 10x, he really means it.
So I'm going to think we're at that time now where we start to wrap it up. But before we do, I always like to do this right at the end. If you were to give the listeners, the watchers, 3 superstar pieces of advice in regards to being a success in business, just crushing it in life, what would you say to wrap this up?
I would say, and this may not be for you, like this, I think every journey is different. So figure out a morning routine that works for you. I know some people believe in morning routine, some people don't. But for me, I need that morning routine, just that little bit of structure in the morning that I give to myself. I've tried waking up in the morning, jumping on the social media, and I feel once you start working, especially if you love it, you just want to keep going.
Yes.
So I think it's really important in the morning to do something for you, whether that's meditating, exercise, reading, journaling, drinking tea, ice baths, work out what it is for you. I prefer to do something physical in the morning. So morning routine is one. Number 2 is do something every day that challenges you.
Yes.
Whether it's something small, like talking to a stranger, or anything challenging, like making a phone call to a high-level person that may intimidate you, something that is challenging every day, or different. So even using your left hand for things rather than your right to challenge your brain. You consciously have to think about brushing your teeth, something that you normally do naturally every day. So that's number 2. And then number 3 would be think bigger. For sure. So you're better off, I believe, planning goals that are massive, generational, like we were talking about at the start of the podcast, building generational wealth. That means setting goals beyond your own life. How does that look? Not just saying I'm going to be a billionaire by the age of 50. Actually setting goals means, to me, working back from that and chunking it down to the now. So yes, have a big dream and a big goal, like I just said, 10x it, but also work backwards from that and chunk it down to today so it makes it relevant. Otherwise, you're living a fantasy thinking you'll achieve that without chunk down plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. All right. So that was great. I've really enjoyed this podcast.
Yes, there was a lot of takeaways there. A lot to learn from. But at the end of the day, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Now,
really appreciate it.
For people to connect with you, find out more, talk to us. How can people reach out? How can they connect with you? Where can they find you? What's the best way?
The best way is through social media. Just on Instagram at Alyse Grace. You put it in the description how to spell it. But that's the best way you can get in touch.
Yep. Your podcast?
Podcast available on all the platforms. So Apple, Google, Spotify. It's called Trillions with Alyse Grace.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that all? Any other places to find you?
And then you can find our school through the links below, and also just through my social media.
Fantastic.
Fearless Academy.
Fearless and Trillions podcast.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
All right, everybody. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast here. I've really enjoyed having Alyse on today. It's
been good.
Make sure you go check out all that stuff right there. Once again, if you've loved watching this, if you've enjoyed this, hit like, hit share, tag anybody that you think needs to hear what Alyse has told us today. And we'll see you on the next podcast.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.